Howdy doody there, podcast listeners, podcast lovers. Welcome to another episode of Bored and Annoyed. I am home at the movies.
And I'm Jackson.
And this week we're discussing The Meg and BlackKklansman.
Klansman.
Bored and Annoyed. So you want to kick off the news? There was something that I think you're quite passionate about.
Oh, the Christopher Nolan thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. First off, though, before we hop into that, I did want to announce that the Avengers Blu-ray comes out this week.
Yes.
So yeah, I've got a couple misgivings with Blu-rays this week, actually, to talk about. But first off, I'll be giving away a digital code for that. So just sign up and subscribe on our website to our newsletter, and you'll be automatically entered. And those of you that already did last week, you were entered. And Logan out there, you won. So congratulations, and let me know how you like that movie that you won. So
congratulations, Logan.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with Avengers. It's funny because it just popped into my head. I hadn't talked to you about this. But as we both know, the whole film was filmed in IMAX.
Right.
So, the aspect ratio in the theater, if you saw it on IMAX, was fill the whole screen.
Right.
But anyways, some studios, when they do that, and I think Disney's done it on a few occasions, maybe with some of their 3D releases, they make sure that aspect ratio is maintained as best they can for home viewing. So like if you're watching on a 16:9 HD TV, which hopefully you are by now, it will fill the whole screen.
Yep.
So you're getting the most out of the picture that was intended by the filmmaker.
Right.
On this release, even though the entire movie was filmed in that way, there wouldn't be any awkward switching from black bars to no black bars.
Right.
They elected to release this black bars the whole way.
Wow. That's really strange.
Yeah, as like a Blu-ray aficionado / collector, that irritates the hell out of me.
You've opened a can of worms on this for me. I think that what Marvel is doing is they're waiting for like a box set.
And then they're going to have like the IMAX versions of all. God, because that pisses me off.
Because what I noticed is back when Marvel was, they were working through Paramount as their distributor, all of their Blu-rays had tons of special features.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned Paramount because hate these movies all you want, but a good example of a Paramount blockbuster are the Transformers films.
Right.
And they do a really good job. I mean, there's always tons of special features about the making of the film. All the IMAX stuff is blown up whenever it's on your TV.
Yep.
The sound is really good in those. That's another thing. In reading up on this, I've discovered massive amounts of complaints regarding the soundtracks on these Disney Blu-rays as well.
Really?
And I'm not like... I'm not one who can pick that out necessarily.
Right.
And I haven't watched one since I read that.
Mm-hmm.
But perhaps there's something going on where they just do shitty home video releases.
Right. I mean, that could be it. Being the Marvel guy, I do have a bit of a problem with what has happened to their Blu-rays because, like I said, the special features went down from 8 special features down to 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's always irritating when you have you click on special features and there's 8 2-minute long featurettes.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Those are the ones that drive me fucking nuts. I hate that.
They've got 3 featurettes usually, 2 or 3, and then they've got your standard gag reel, which is now so kid friendly that it's just not good. It's not entertaining.
And, I know we allude to these guys in their show all the time, but Red Letter Media kind of talked about how everything's so sterile.
Yes.
It's like all the special features are a production in and of themselves. It doesn't feel like real.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You're not getting a real behind the scenes look at what's happening. So.
Exactly. That's why I loved the first Iron Man DVD and Blu-ray had just, I want to say 10 to 15 featurettes. And a lot of them went into the comics and all the inspiration for the story and stuff. It was really, really well done. But I do think it's a matter of we don't want to spend the money. And this is almost a side thing from what you're talking about with the IMAX. That, I don't even think there's any excusing that.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I'll still buy it.
Well, that's just it. I'm going to pick it up tomorrow, but it's I buy the 4K Steelbook version. I'm, collecting this shit.
Right.
And when I saw it in theaters, I was like, oh man, this thing's going to look fucking great on my 4K TV, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah, blah, blah. And then I hear that news and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm bummed.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's still going to be a great movie.
Sure.
Yeah, a little disappointing there.
But yeah, speaking of not as the filmmakers intended.
Oh, right.
The other Blu-ray bit, which was kind of what sparked my thought on this. I'm pretty stoked about this 4K HDR remaster of 2001 A Space Odyssey that's coming out in October.
Right.
It's the 50-year anniversary of 2001.
It's so nuts.
It's, you know, it's a beautiful movie. You know, I know there's a lot of people, it's not their cup of tea. It's kind of slow, but you know, it's a masterpiece.
I'd say slow is a little bit of an understatement.
I would agree, but what makes the slowness, quote unquote, of it like viewable is how everything looks, and the fact that it was made 50 years ago and it still holds up and looks good for the most part. There's a goofy part at the end where it's kind of just like he's basically tripping on acid is the way the movie looks, and that's kind of fakey or whatever, but for the most part, all the like, you know, the spaceships and stuff, the way the inner workings of the spaceship, like HAL, whatever, all that stuff still looks great. But Christopher Nolan apparently is overseeing this remastering. Right. And there's already a panic out there amongst the film snobs, if you will, regarding the tint that has been added to the film.
Yeah, like the color grading has been changed.
Right. And there's a and if you're interested in, you know, kind of seeing what I'm talking about here, there is a YouTube video. It's 2001 A Space Odyssey 50th anniversary trailer comparison. So apparently this was screened in 70 millimeter, you know, a month or two ago. They screened it for the 50th anniversary, and they have a trailer out that they also used for the Blu-ray. And this guy took it and basically put a line down the middle of the screen, and you can see the last Blu-ray release versus, you know, the new one. Right. The new one is ugly. Well, putting it mildly, I believe it's ugly. I think if you're like a slick spaceship sci-fi movie, like your grays and whites should be really vibrant and white. Whereas it honestly looks like somebody was smoking cigars in the spaceship.
It's got a little bit of like there's like a bluish tint to some of the blues, and there's almost like I don't know, like a orangish sort of, like everything's sort of off-white. Right. Yeah, and it's not, to me, that doesn't look crisp, but maybe that's just, you know, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Right. But my point is, apparently Christopher Nolan saw a screening with his dad of the movie when he was a kid. Yeah. And he's trying to make it look like that. Yep. Which is like, it just seems to me like it's just the definition of, you know, arrogance, and it irritates the hell out of me. That's where it bothers me, because I mean the picture quality, it's different, but it's not enough where I would say the movie is ruined, you know. But it's a matter of the arrogance on this guy to be like, I remember this when I was a kid. Sure. It's so great. So great. Look just like this. Yeah. Well, actually it didn't. Well, right. And apparently the date the time he's giving, you know, without going into too much of the semantics of this, but the time he's giving that he saw it wasn't even the original release of the film. Right. And I don't know, you know, to your point, it's like, yeah, it doesn't ruin the film for your casual film goer probably won't notice, but somebody who's bought maybe 2001 3 times, they keep upgrading it. Right. You know, they bought a 4K Blu-ray player, and they're a huge fan of Stanley Kubrick or whatever, and this like really fucking excited them to see this. Is this a fictional person? I feel like it might be somebody in the room. I would that and Lawrence of Arabia, and I guess The Shining are probably the top 3 that I want to see in the format. Okay. I mean, aside from the old Star Wars movies, but I've watched those so many goddamn times that I don't, you know. Right. But yeah, I don't know. It's irritating. Like, don't fuck with it. Fix it. If there's shit on the film that, you know, if you can remove some of the grain, whatever, do what you can. But the fact that you're making it purposely look that way to me is bizarre. And another little funny
thing about this is there's rumors that he's red-green colorblind.
Yeah, I had heard that.
So
It kind of makes sense when you look at his movies. It really does. I mean, he has a color palette that he's very comfortable with.
well, I mean, it's just kind of funny. It's like, hey, we need to hire someone to, we just want him to make the movie look better. We want to make the colors look better. We want to make it, who should oversee this? Oh, the colorblind guy.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing against you colorblind people out there, but,
Maybe you shouldn't be in charge of color correction.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like if I need to send you out to buy me like a Christmas sweater or something and you're red-green colorblind, I'm probably picking the wrong person.
Yeah.
Perhaps,
Yeah.
But yeah, that neither here nor there. Just a couple little irritations regarding the home video release world, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if we're going to continue with news that's
irritating,
Yeah,
annoying.
yeah. You might say we are annoyed. But yeah, so the James Gunn news.
Yeah,
just keeps
updates and no updates.
Yep.
On the James Gunn news.
Well, you just constantly are getting, well, they might bring him back. There is no chance he's coming back.
Right. So the last I heard, there was a push to bring him back, and then he wasn't coming back. And now the latest is that he might come back, but it might not be for Guardians 3. It might be for something else.
Which makes no sense. Apparently, Kevin Feige, the head of the Marvel Studios, is fighting to get him back. That's the rumor. Nothing is confirmed. That's the big thing, is that nothing is confirmed.
Well,
with this.
and if this is true, if, it's true that Kevin Feige's fighting to get him back, I would say that he's earned enough clout where they should just do whatever the fuck he wants him to do.
I'd say he's probably the most prolific producer currently.
Well, hey, if he wants to quit over this because he's buddies with James Gunn,
right,
what he could do is he could quit, and then Kathleen Kennedy could get shit canned, and then they could bring him in, and he could fix Star Wars.
He probably could. I mean,
just
maybe.
saying, just throwing it out there.
Right.
Although it's both Disney, so never mind.
Exactly. Well, you quit from us. Would you like this position instead?
Right. Well,
No.
maybe if we just sneak him over here, nobody will notice.
Right. But there are also rumors like, so apparently Bob Iger is on vacation right now after doing the whole Fox acquisition deal.
Sure.
And apparently when he comes back, he's supposed to come back, I guess, any day now.
Okay.
They're going to start dealing with it because Alan Horn was the one who basically made the call of like, he's gone, we're done. So big Bob Iger is coming in to maybe set things right as far as I'm concerned.
We'll see.
But yeah, there's other comic book news. It's comic book TV show news. This is right up your alley.
My CW.
Your CW shows.
Which I haven't watched now for 3 months, so I'm going to have to spend 2 weeks in a cave to catch up on everything I missed.
Yeah, that sounds like hell.
Yeah, I won't be doing that. If anything, I'll drop the I don't even remember, the Legends of
Tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go. I'll drop that.
I don't know how do I know that title and you don't?
I mean, I've only watched like
a season and a half.
Episodes. Yeah.
But yeah, Ruby Rose is going to play Batwoman. She's getting like a backdoor pilot, basically. She's going to show up on Arrow for like an episode or something, and then she's going to get her own series.
It's weird that someone who's like kind of gaining momentum in the action movie world is stepping back kind of for a CW show. I don't know. I find that odd. Maybe I'm wrong, but...
Well, I mean, I look at it this way. She's a bit player in all the movies that she's in.
She is. This kind of gives her something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's some sort of a vaulting off point, though, with the dialogue and the writing of the CW shows. I'm not sure. I mean, some people come off well in some points,
Right.
But...
Well, I mean, to me, it's just soap operas with superheroes. I mean, superheroes are basically soap operas,
yeah,
but this is more. Most of them are more soap opera than superhero.
Most dramatic television shows that try to be emotional and dramatic, or movies, they kind of have a soap opera element.
Yeah, these I'd say a little bit more so than most.
Yes,
but
they have the budget of a soap opera.
But apparently, she left Twitter because she was being hassled. So once again, we've got somebody being, just like Kelly Marie Tran, we got somebody being bullied off of Twitter.
Yeah, people who are doing that, if you're listening, you're kind of dumb.
I mean, just don't
I'm not going to tell you to not listen to our podcast because, we need the downloads and we're selfish. But But yeah, you're idiots.
I just don't get it because
No,
it's like
stupid.
It's like you have nothing better to do with your life.
People get so worked up, man.
I don't get it. Like, well, and it seems to be coming from both sides. You know, sometimes you can point to one side and be like, oh, well, it was the right or it was the left. Here it was like some people are like, oh, it's another SJW show. And then other people on the left are being like, well, she's not gay enough or she hasn't come out strongly for gay.
Oh,
it's
because the actress isn't like coming out
but
strongly?
she is gay.
Well,
so that's what I don't get.
I don't get it either because it's like either way, even like say she wasn't gay.
Right.
She's playing a character. That's what acting is.
Right. I mean, it goes back to my our conversation about
Scarlet. Yeah.
I mean, at some point, you know, I understand we can't do blackface. That's very obviously offensive. And, you know, but it's like if you're playing a character, and so long as that person is somewhat within your capabilities of playing, I think you should be allowed.
It's amazing that you just brought up blackface because guess what came out 10 years ago today?
Tropic Thunder.
Yes.
God, that was such a great movie.
And that's like, that was used in a, you know, a proper, I don't know if it would come out now.
Right.
But it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's a satire on Hollywood and all the bullshit.
Right.
And it's like you pop it in today and it's just as relevant as it ever was.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and the thing that I think everybody should love about that is the fact that it's not blackface in that we're trying to support blackface. It's showing how ridiculous some of these actors are to go through character transformations.
Hey, he's an Oscar winner,
right?
Kirk Lazarus.
Kirk Lazarus, an MTV Best Kiss winner, Tobey Maguire.
That's might be my favorite part of the movie.
Right.
Satan's Alley.
Right.
I want to see that movie.
I've been a bad boy, father. It's a fucking amazing movie.
But yeah, anyways. Yeah, so Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose.
You're fine. Nobody, like, you're just suffer through the trolls.
Right.
Block your Twitter for a while. When you come back in a month and a half, nobody will be talking about this anymore. Hopefully.
I feel like I don't have enough of her career to look at to even know if she's much of a quality actress.
No, me neither.
I haven't seen anything that's impressed me, but nothing has bothered me either.
She has she's like really attractive and then kind of has like the badass attractive look.
Right.
So I like that, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I saw her on Orange is the New Black, I think was the first thing I saw her in.
Okay.
That was kind of the biggest role I saw her in. She was fine.
Right.
But
well, and she was in John Wick 2.
Right, but she didn't speak.
She didn't speak. And she was most recently in The Meg.
The Meg, yes.
So, I mean, yeah, she's got a little bit of a career going for herself.
Powerful performance in The Meg. But we'll get to that shortly.
The movie is chock full of powerful performances.
I'm glad you've seen the light.
Right,
but anyways, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Any more news?
Yeah, there are two Star Trek news things. So
I've heard one of them. Picard
is coming back.
Yeah, that's kind of exciting. I think we've briefly talked about this. How I'm an original series guy, and the one you could get into was The Next Generation.
Yes.
Yeah. So I watched a little bit of The Next Generation. I like Captain Picard. I like Patrick Stewart.
Right.
So that's kind of exciting.
Yep.
And I would imagine Star Trek fans are excited.
I think you have to be because I mean, I feel like The Next Generation was probably the high note of like the last, I don't know, 20, 25 years of Star Trek.
Everything since has been trying to recapture, you know, that essence. Like you'll talk to your random fans who have like a personal connection to Voyager or whatever. But in general, it's the original series or The Next Generation.
Right. And then there was Deep Space Nine. I never really got into them, but I to be fair, I haven't really given them a fair shot either.
I'm sure that they all have their, you know, I mean, the formula is such that you're going to have like kind of intriguing, interesting, thought-provoking episodes.
Yes.
And then you're going to have piles of shit.
Yep.
And in the past, those piles of shit can be overlooked because you're watching like campy old stuff where it's like, okay, well, you know, this is from the 60s or whatever.
Exactly.
Whereas nowadays, I don't know if I could sit through, you know, certain episodes of like there's episodes of Star Trek where it's like they clearly just used like some other mobster movie that was being filmed at the times, like clothing, because they'd go to like Mob Planet, where you know
Oh, they do that a lot in Next Generation. They go to the holodeck and they actually you say that in a negative way, but I'm like, God damn,
you like that episode?
Some of those holodeck episodes are actually pretty good.
Well, they've got like a certain charm to them.
They do.
But I don't know if that would work today. I could be wrong.
Yeah. We're in a weird time right now, I feel, where you gotta do hard goofy, or you gotta do like hard serious.
Sure.
And Next Generation really sort of towed that line. That could be silly and it could be serious.
Yeah.
Depending on the episode.
Well, it's funny. I mean, the whole Gene Roddenberry's whole thing was like, how can I put like political, like themes into a television show and talk about things that other people can't get away with talking about? And sometimes it was in the cheesiest ways, like Kirk flirting with a certain alien or something. But it is like they're important programming, in my opinion.
Right.
Now, an example, the latest Star Trek, I don't even know the name of it, but the TV show, I think that one's more of like your today's type television, where it's one storyline that kind of goes through the whole season, and everybody has these long arcs, whereas the original, and Next Generation were more episodic, where it's like you could just watch a random episode.
Yep. There are a couple like to be continued, and there are always ones where like it relies on prior knowledge from a previous episode.
Right.
But they're, you'll go sometimes 10, 15 episodes before you have to have prior knowledge.
So I guess the question is Picard coming back for is he going to be like a bit player on like a new Star Trek crew? Is he like, does anybody know? Is it a new show? It's not the show that's going, right?
No, I believe it's a new show, and the only thing that I know is that he's not going to be a captain.
Okay.
So I hope it's not like he's been stranded on a planet and he's jaded and I can't do this again, be a captain again. I don't want to see that.
Right.
Done a million times. Fuck it. Don't do it again.
So that's probably what they'll do.
That's probably what they'll do. They saw Logan and they were like, Picard with dementia.
Hey, there you go.
That's just a little too depressing.
That's true. I would agree. Star Trek's not supposed to be depressing.
Right.
Star Trek is supposed to be uplifting.
Yep.
It's supposed to be the future is bright.
I would hope that he went on and did good things, like he became like a senator or something like that.
He worked at a soup kitchen.
He gave back.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Picard gives back. That's what the series is called.
There you go.
But then the other Star Trek news is Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth are reportedly not coming back for Star Trek 4. Star Trek Into Darkness, the last one, didn't do very hot at the box office.
No, that was Into Darkness. Was the
second one.
Star Trek. What was the third one called?
Star Trek. Nobody. See, this is the
point.
And
I liked it too.
And I did too.
Star Trek Beyond, Alex.
Okay, there we go. I mean, yeah, but I think that's the point. Like, we both couldn't come up with the name, but it didn't do very well. And so the idea was like, okay, well, didn't do well. This franchise is dying. Let's cut the budget and see if we can still make a movie that's financially viable.
Okay, well, here's the question. Weren't they talking about bringing in Quentin Tarantino to direct the fourth one for a bit?
They were talking about that. Actually, I think they were talking about...
That was months ago.
That was months ago. And I think eventually it became they were going to give him his own Star Trek movie.
Oh, God, I was kind of excited when I heard about that. Why not?
I think if you're going to lose Hemsworth and Pine, you should have gone for the Tarantino bit, because now you killed both
because I want to see Quentin Tarantino direct that cast in a Star Trek movie, because I love the cast of those.
Yeah.
Carl Urban, everybody.
It's really weird to see. I mean, you look at the cast and I'm like, everybody has taken off since that first one. Zoe Saldana, like you said, Carl Urban,
Zachary Quinto.
Yeah,
Eric Bana. That was kind of his end.
Star Trek. That really was. What the fuck is that guy doing?
I like Eric Bana. Too.
I do too. But God, what was the other one? He was just in the Mission Impossible.
Oh, Shaun of the Dead. We can just call him that. Simon Pegg.
There we go. We both got it. But yeah, so they don't want to pay them what they're worth, and I guess they're just not going to come back, because this one was supposed to be like Hemsworth being Kirk's father in the first one, in like the the prologue scene.
Sure,
he's going to come back through time travel, wobbly woobly.
Yeah, whatever.
And I think that would have been great. You've got two of the best Chris's.
Yes,
I'd say.
I love both of them.
And it would have been great to see them play off each other.
Well, but I mean, this opens the door for Shatner to come back. So.
Doesn't he isn't he not interested in these movies at all?
No, I think he's obsessed. I think he's pissed that he wasn't involved when what's his name was Leonard Nimoy.
Right. Yeah, I think that's it, because he wanted a cameo.
They call Shatner and they say, "Hey, Shatner, we need you from the future to come back and play
yourself."
Kirk. Yeah.
Nah,
Mr. Spock. But yeah, no, I
don't want it.
I mean, I would love to see that because it'd be fucking hilarious, but
yeah. So that's a little depressing. I hope that they can figure something out and get those guys back, because
me too. Just kill the franchise if you can't.
Yeah, exactly. Give Tarantino his movie, whatever reboot off weird thing he was going to do. I want to see that movie.
I know that.
If I'm not going to see Hemsworth,
that sounds really interesting to me.
If I'm not going to see Hemsworth meets Pine, I want to see that.
Right. So, God, that's funny that Hemsworth was the dad in that first scene in the first movie.
Before he was even Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a good scene. I like it.
Yeah. So where do we're going to do what we watched at home.
What did we watch at home? I've been watching this show Sharp Objects on HBO. It's a new series, Amy Adams. And the young Amy Adams in it, there's two timelines kind of going on. Like Amy Adams she has flashbacks.
Okay.
And the young Amy Adams is played by Beverly Marsh in the It movie. You'll have to excuse me, but the young girl,
right? Yeah,
she looks just fucking like her. It's bizarre.
She does.
It is bizarre. But anyways, plot of the show. It's based on a Gillian Flynn novel.
Okay.
She wrote what was the big one with Rosamund Pike and Ben Affleck?
Oh, Gone Girl.
Gone Girl. So she writes shit like that, these kind of murder type,
Cool.
But yeah, basically the plot of this one is she's a writer for the St. Louis Dispatch or something, and her hometown, there's been a couple child murders. A couple of girls have gotten, early teenage girls have gotten brutally murdered and whatever.
Right.
So they send her back, the St. Louis Times Dispatch or whatever, send her back to write about this and basically go back to her hometown. So it's this small town. Everybody knows each other. It's really fucked up.
I've seen trailers for this. It looks
pretty good.
It looks a little suspense horror-y.
Well, it's weird because the first few episodes, it was one of those where I'm like, okay, I'm struggling here because it's kind of boring. They're setting things up.
Gotcha.
But last night, one of them ended because now I went on vacation, so I missed a couple. So I was a couple behind. I'm one behind now, I believe. But last night I watched one and I was so drawn in that I was I had to watch the next one immediately.
Okay.
But yeah, basically she's got this troubled past. She's an alcoholic, drinks all the time. Her sister was murdered.
Okay.
She's got kind of detached parents. Her mom's just a total bitch to her, or whatever. And the dad's just kind of okay, hands off, kind of like the Hereditary dad, I would say.
Right.
But she also cuts herself.
Oh.
So that's a very hard to watch aspect of the show. I mean, you see her and she's just got like words and shit carved all over her body and shit. Yeah, it's tough. But yeah, it's deep and it's good and it's weird because it's this small town. Like the episode I watched last night, which is funny that this happened to be on because of the other movie we're going to talk about outside of the Meg this week. But they were holding a a Southern Confederate Pride Day in this small Southern town.
Okay.
The town comes for this thing. I forget what it's Calhoun Day. So but it's a really weird, you know what I'm saying? It's that hillbilly-ish weird lifestyle. And Amy Adams is coming back to that after having gotten out of there. And you've got your few characters who are normal, who are God, I knew you'd get out of here someday or whatever.
Right.
And then you've got this, oh God, and I wish I knew the guy who plays him because he's really good in the show. But he's a FBI person who's been sent to the town to help with the investigation because this town has the sheriff and he's just, it's one guy basically on their entire police force. So yeah, I wouldn't have recommended it a few weeks ago.
Okay.
I think I would have said, it's okay. But now I'm getting kind of sucked into it. There's some shocking stuff in it.
I think as this podcast series goes on, we find out more and more about Jackson's tastes, and he likes the small town disturbing story. I mean, we got a little of that in Tin Star.
I do, yeah, sure, yeah. That one's a little more like hooks ya, though. Yeah. This one's like more slow.
Yep.
This I don't know. One shout out I want to give as far as this show is concerned, though, is Patricia Clarkson plays Amy Adams' mom in this.
Oh, I know her.
She is amazing in this. And you hate her from the second you see her.
I was going to say, when you said that she was cast, she kind of always seems to play that sort of role.
Yeah, she's like oh God. And something happened last night that was just like, wow. Like, and you saw like it coming kind of, but it was still like, whew. You just want to kill her. I got to be honest. She's awful. But, and I looked over at the girlfriend and I'm like, she's the best part of the show because she just owns the screen and every scene she's in, But yeah, that would be one random one I watched. The other one I've been watching, Parks and Rec.
Love that show.
Ron Swanson is pretty fantastic.
Didn't I tell you?
Yeah, he's great. Yeah. And so is Chris Pratt's character.
Yep.
He's pretty goddamn funny, too.
I told you.
It's a funny show.
They're the two best characters. I've been saying it for a while. I know you haven't watched The Office. If you like Parks and Rec, you should check out The Office.
Well, I've always kind of saw Parks and Rec as kind of like piggybacking off of The Office's success.
They almost were going to make Amy, what's her name?
God, you want to say Amy Schumer, but that's not her name.
Amy Pascal. Nope, that's Sony exec who's incompetent.
Everyone at Sony is incompetent.
Yeah.
Amy Poehler.
Yeah, they were going to make Amy Poehler and Michael Scott date.
Oh, really?
They were going to make them date, and that was sort of the backdoor pilot for that one.
That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, it would have been funny. But yeah, I'm glad they didn't do it because it makes Parks and Rec its own thing.
And yeah, we don't have to go into it. It's funny. There's not, the characters are all pretty funny. I keep forgetting his name, but the one character who they're always just kind of shitting on, who doesn't do much.
Oh, Jerry.
Like, Jerry might be one of my favorites too.
Yep.
He's so funny because he's just like, oh, poor Jerry.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's Aziz Ansari, who's like your stereotypical millennial.
Yeah, right.
Great, just great.
It's funny.
And then you've got the emo chick,
Aubrey Plaza.
I mean, it's so good.
Yeah, it's really good. The only other thing I've watched, and then I'll send it to you, is I've watched the first 4 episodes of the new Orange is the New Black, and it's better than it was last year. Last year was a disaster, in my opinion. It was one of those seasons that's like they must have just fucking had to come up with some bullshit.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I would put it right up there with, for you people who have watched Sons of Anarchy, I would put it up there in awfulness to the season of Sons of Anarchy where they are in Ireland. And those who watch that show know what I'm talking about. It was terrible. But this season's starting off pretty good.
Yeah, I actually watched I watched a little bit of last season because my girlfriend likes the show.
Sure.
I didn't think it was bad, but I don't have any context for it.
So you hadn't seen all the seasons before the riot or whatever?
Yeah, because I saw the riot and I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy. Like, as far as the situation goes, it's kind of nuts, especially because you're like, I don't know how many seasons you're in, 4 seasons, something like that.
I think this might be 6.
Okay, so you were 6. Okay, so you were 5 seasons in at that point. I mean, that's pretty nuts to sort of like do something like that could effectively, if you wanted to, have it end your series.
It's true. I always saw the problem with the whole riot idea. It's a good 2-episode arc or something. But by the end of the 10th episode, you kind of like want things to be...
Go back to...
Yeah, you're just sick of it. You know what I mean? Like, because the show starts and it's like, oh, it's intriguing. Like, how do these women live their lives?
Right.
And, learning about the different, like, whatever, like groups and sects and how they've kind of broken themselves off.
Right.
And then when everything goes to hell... It's like, yeah, it's interesting. I'm excited to see what happens with this. But then, like, when nothing is happening for 12, 13 hours, you're kind of like, Okay.
Well,
I'm ready to move on now.
You sort of lose a little bit of the internal politics of a jail, of a prison.
Sure.
And it becomes more of like almost like a war and prisoners of war kind of
not
series,
as interesting.
And it's not as interesting.
That's not what this show was. Right.
And so now you're back to it with the new one. I did see the first episode of the new season with my girlfriend. The guards are much
Horrible.
worse.
Yes.
Like they're much worse than they seemed to be before.
Yes,
So,
and I'm excited to see how that turns out.
right.
But yeah, I have a feeling watching it of like, okay, things are going to move into, things are going to happen now. We're done with that. We moved on from that.
Right.
But yeah, they're fucking awful, aren't they?
Yeah, they
There
really
was
are.
a pretty good bit where the stoner guard from the previous seasons, like they hire back some of the guards that you know from the past, and there's like the one stoner guy with like the goatee or whatever. He's funny. He's like a comedic character.
Right.
But he's super excited because these guards at this place have fantasy prisoners or whatever, where they all draft the prisoners onto teams, and like you get points for like if one gets roughed up or one roughs up another, you get points. Like very morbid stuff, but it was a funny little bit because the one guy's like, "Oh my god, like I'm excited," blah blah blah. It was funny,
right?
But yeah, that's what I've watched. No movies this week.
I watched 4 things. Count them, 4.
4.
Yeah. So I'm gonna breeze through a couple of them because I don't have much to say. So I watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas for the first time ever.
And
everybody kind of talks about how it's this big movie. I find it tremendously overrated. I will say the first, I want to say half an hour, 40 minutes, I was really quite impressed with Johnny Depp's character. And it was quickly becoming my favorite Johnny Depp performance.
Oh, wow.
Because it was fucking hilarious. And then I feel like the movie just kind of went off the rails. It didn't really, it seemed aimless. And I know that that's sort of like the point of like they're on this drug binge and like, that's what they are, is they're aimless and they're fucking crazy, But as far as a structure, it doesn't allow you to, you never really, at some point you just hate Benicio del Toro because he's fucking insane.
God, it's been so long since I've seen this, but I will tell you that I have the same thoughts on this. I feel like this movie gets a lot of praise and love just because of how whacked out and weird and crazy it is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There are some truly impressive things. Like there's a bit where he starts hallucinating and he sees everybody around him as reptile people.
I remember that scene. That's the scene that pops into my head.
And it really is. It's great. And when they're in the car and they pick up Tobey Maguire, young Tobey Maguire with bleach blonde hair.
Shit, he must have been real young.
Yeah. And the camera angles in the car are really, really great at conveying the insanity of these two and the mental state that they're in. And there was one bit where Johnny Depp's character is sort of inner monologuing, and he's like, I don't know if I can trust him. Can I trust him? Maybe I should just kill him. And then he goes, and then he says out loud, did I say that out loud? And it's like something that if anybody's been on drugs, there are times where you're like,
you're just fucked. Yeah.
Did you say that out loud?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
And there were some good bits, but at the
overall, though, it's not the greatest fucking thing since sliced bread.
It just drags.
Yeah.
And it stops being a fun drug trip and starts being really intense and just, I think it's one of those movies that just people who are into drugs and the drug culture like, because, there's some fun bits and they can identify with it. But as a movie, it's just not that great.
I would imagine this is one of those movies that a lot of people see in high school and think is awesome. And then they watch it like 15 years later and they're like, oh my God, it's kind of, it's not good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But what else did you watch?
Let's see. I also watched. So there's this compilation movie called "The Flavors of Youth."
Okay.
And it's from this anime production company. They did this amazing anime movie that came out like a year or two ago called Your Name, and that was it was beautiful. It was a really, really well done movie. I liked it a lot. So I gave this one a shot, and this is 3 small movies about your youth and love and it's just like 3 little short films.
Okay.
And the animation was beautiful. The first one is about this guy who has very fond memories of this certain noodle dish and how it takes him back to his childhood and different parts in his life. Different noodle shops closing and then opening again, and what that meant for him in his life. Really, I mean, it was beautiful, but at the same time, you get tired of, like, there was a lot of narration. It's one of those things where you just sort of get tired of the narration because that's most of the dialogue in that one. And it gets a little melodramatic and shit. And it just eventually got boring, which is weird that 3 short films ended up becoming boring because they all had a very similar style.
Well, I guess my question would be, was the first one so boring that by the time you got to the second one, you were like done with it?
Basically. Basically.
Yeah, that's not good.
No. I mean, and the thing is like, it's still clearly a lot of work went into it. The animation is amazing. The backdrops are, I mean, literally like works of art. Like you could frame some of these keyframes on your wall. They're so beautiful.
Okay.
But it's just
like Bob Ross paintings.
Better.
You can't beat Bob Ross.
I suppose.
Were
maybe.
there happy trees?
There were so many happy trees.
There you go.
And a happy little sun peeking through the tree. It's beautiful and boring.
Okay. So, but if you're a fan of that sort of thing, you probably owe it to yourself to check it out just because.
Yeah, I mean,
you might like it.
Yeah, you might just. I don't even think people would like it. I think they'll. I think some of the anime people will go out there and they'll tell themselves they like it because they like anime, but I don't think they'll really like it.
Sure.
And then I finished Glow season 2.
Okay, I'm excited to hear about this because I need to watch the whole thing.
It's so fucking good, man.
Is it?
I kept on. It's one of those shows, and I think I sort of drive my girlfriend nuts when I do this. But I pause and I rewind bits because they're so fucking funny.
You drive me nuts doing that.
Well,
just
I don't
bookmark it in your head, write down the timestamp, and go back later. Don't be pausing and rewinding in the middle of the show.
Well, sometimes she'll get on her phone and I'll be like, "You missed a great bit."
Yeah.
And but it's so well written, and all of the characters are likable, and it's structured beautifully, and this one had a scene where you get to see what the Glow TV show actually is. One of the full half-an-hour episodes is just an episode of Glow.
Oh, wow. That sounds interesting.
And it was fucking amazing because like the main problem with this season is that they are struggling to find an audience and keep the producers interested in airing the show.
Okay.
And eventually something happens where they get to a different time slot, and it's not a very good time slot. And eventually they're like, fuck it. Let's do what we want. Nobody's watching anyways. And it becomes this beautiful original thing. I can't speak highly enough of this show. This is one of Netflix's best shows.
All right. It's funny. My parents just started watching this, and they love it.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Sounds like I need to watch it.
It's
a
for
must
me.
watch.
It's a must watch.
Okay.
It's like,
well, if you're paying for Netflix, you might as well watch their best shit. Correct?
Right. It's just a hair behind Stranger Things as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where is it next to Dark?
Dark. I think
like
Dark and Stranger Things are on the same level, so it's just a hair behind that too.
But it's a comedy. It's like right.
It's a different. It's a different genre, but as far as enjoyment,
Sure.
I mean, Jesus Christ, it's so funny.
Well, it's one of the best things you've watched in a while.
It is.
Right.
I mean, especially TV wise. Which reminds me, the other thing that I watched. This was just a Netflix weekend for me, or week for me. I watched the next season of Voltron. I told you that they kind of split their seasons.
Yeah,
in two.
you had a good review of the last 7 or 8 episodes or whatever you said it was.
So the last season was season 6, and it was 7 episodes long. This season was 13 episodes long. That's how you get the clue that they're splitting it into 2.
You're giving me like PTSD because those Marvel shows are 13 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's never good for them.
No, it's not. And that was the thing about the last season. I quick recap for anybody who didn't hear my review of that. It was a show that went from pretty good to goddamn great in a season, which I can't remember the last time I've seen that happen. This just went back to, it's fine. It just... Yeah, 13 episodes. There's a lot of boringness. The pacing is gone. Some of the interesting character stuff that was done in the last season is not continued and picked up on in this one. Some of the action scenes don't have the same There are still really good action scenes, don't get me wrong, but they're not quite as emotionally investing as the last season. There is one great scene where it's literally just an episode where it's just a battle. And that was pretty cool. They've moved away from, the old Voltron from the 80s. It was like monster shows up, dude turns into Voltron, boom, use the sword, it's over.
Sounds like Power Rangers.
Exactly. It was Power Rangers before Power Rangers. And here they moved away from that. I think you see Voltron maybe twice in the whole season.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the second battle is just this desperate bid for survival against this monster. It's not, I bust out my sword. It's just like they keep on trying new things and it keeps on not working. And
so wait, this is early in the season though?
No, this is like sort of the ultimate battle at the end. And
that was pretty good.
It was
you
pretty.
Just wish that what led up to it was a little more consistently entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, all the episodes are fine, but they're a little boring. So there you go.
There you go. And, random bit of news. Is it true that Netflix has kind of realized that their damn Marvel shows are too long and they drag on too much and they're thinking about shortening
I had heard that.
Yeah. Please do.
Yeah, do it.
I would really like to be excited to watch a season of one of those shows again. God damn.
I think I heard that Iron Fist season 2 might be 9 episodes.
Well, Iron Fist season 2 should be 0 episodes.
Well, it's got a new showrunner.
Okay.
So I think things...
Do they have a new actor?
No.
A whole new cast?
No.
Because I watched, I forgot I was watching Luke Cage, and the episode I watched yesterday was the one where the Iron Fist is in it. Mm-hmm. God, is he just dreadful.
Yeah.
And I guess he's trying, but they have a fight scene where they go into a grow house or whatever.
Yeah.
That was
my
fucking God. It was
told
terrible.
You. It's awful.
I couldn't believe what I was watching.
And that's one of your... I don't know, I want to say 3 or 4 action scenes in the whole season.
Well, it's one of the big, action moments. I think it seemed like it was trying to be this season's Daredevil hallway fight or the Punisher fight, no, this was fucking bad.
It was garbage.
And the him punching Luke Cage's hands to create the shockwave that just knocks everyone out. It was so cringe inducing. I couldn't even take it. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was really, really, really bad.
But yeah, that's it for what we watched this week, huh?
Yeah, that's it.
So
we're gonna get into movies.
Which one do you want to talk about first? We haven't really talked about this.
Let's talk about something pretty good.
Okay.
I think we should talk
about
the
good one first.
Yeah, let's do the good one.
We'll save the other good one for the end.
The other good one, quote unquote.
I didn't put quotes around that.
Yeah, well, I am.
Stay tuned, folks. So the first one I guess we're going to talk about is BlackKklansman.
Right.
The latest Spike Lee joint.
Spike Lee joint.
And I believe Jordan Peele was involved in this one as well.
He was the producer, yeah.
Yeah. Synopsis, I guess I'll just jump into the synopsis here. It's 1972. I know the true story took place in the later 70s, but in this movie it's set in 72. Basically, there is a young African-American gentleman who would like to join the Colorado Springs police force.
Yep.
And he joins up, and they've got him doing, the filing duty or whatever you'd call that.
Yep.
I don't know, working some dead-end job there.
Right.
He basically ends up being brought into a different unit, and he sees an ad in the paper to call the KKK, like a recruitment ad or whatever.
Yeah.
And he calls them up, and he pretends to be a white guy who's interested in joining the KKK, and hilariously uses his real name.
Yep.
Which was a funny little problem that they had to deal with.
Yeah.
But so basically they're interested, and he and Adam Driver's character, Flip was his name, I believe, Adam Driver's character.
Yep.
They work together, God, I forget the main character's name. Why am I forgetting his name? Ron Washington?
Sterling? It started with an S.
I think Ron Sterling might have been the character in Mad Men.
Maybe. But it is Ron.
It's Ron something.
It's Ron S.
And Washington's his real last name.
Yeah, because he is Denzel Washington's son.
His name's Ron Stallworth.
Stallworth,
And I will admit it, Alex probably cut a few seconds there for me to look that up for us.
Right.
But yeah, so he plays the guy on the phone, like when he's talking to the KKK on the phone, he's at the police station doing the talking. And then when they have to meet him in real life, it's this Flip Zimmerman character played by Adam Driver,
right,
who has to do the actual, meeting of all the people. Because obviously he can't show up to meet them himself.
Right.
But yeah, I don't want to get too deep into the plot without spoiler warnings.
Right. So general thoughts.
I thought it was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
It's an odd movie, which I suppose I kind of should expect from Spike Lee.
Yes.
It's I didn't know going in, I thought it was going to be more satirical than it was. And it has that comedic satirical tone for about half.
It's got a little bit of a it's almost bipolar in its tonal nature, because there are lighthearted, funny, it's almost not slapstick.
I would say there's hilarious shit in it.
Yeah, it's quite humorous, and then there are really dark and very intense scenes.
Correct. So yeah, I for me it kind of. I almost wish they would have gone one way or the other. You know what I mean? But I feel like that's just a personal issue. I don't know if like Three Billboards was another one that was kind of tonally all over the place. And for some reason that one worked for me better.
Well, I mean, I'll use a movie that kind of it reminds me of, and this is a far worse movie, I would say.
Okay.
Not BlackKklansman. BlackKklansman is quite good. But Super, directed by James Gunn.
Never saw that.
Starring Rainn Wilson. It's a movie where it gets really intense, and then
all of a sudden there's a joke or something.
Yeah, and it's very strange, and it's breakneck turns into those tonal shifts, and it doesn't really work there. I feel like there are a couple moments like that in here, but most of the time I felt like the flowing in between the two tones worked pretty well.
You thought it was balanced pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say, like, I'm just giving you a problem with the movie. I don't, I'm not going to sit here and say that makes it bad.
Right.
The other thing I feel like if you're like me, I mean, we've talked about this multiple times on this podcast, when something gets brought up and it takes me out of the movie because it's almost like a fourth wall, like wink, wink, we're really talking about this.
Yeah, there were a couple.
This movie was all over the place.
They were littered, throughout. And there were a couple that were really quite obvious.
And to the point where, like, I'm sitting there like, okay, like, I get it. I can deal with this. I understand what he's trying to do, but it almost makes me, you can do it in a way where I feel like it's almost pandering to your audience and treating them like they're stupid in a way, but you're also trying to make a comedy, and those bits were working in the audience that I saw it with.
Yeah, they were pretty funny.
Right, but at the same time, it's like these people are laughing like, oh, did you get that? And I'm like, well, if you didn't get that, you're a fucking moron. So,
Right, but I don't think it's, if anybody nudges somebody and says, did you get that, they're the fucking moron.
Well, they're looking over and like, like, oh, he's talking about Trump there.
Yeah.
Which it just takes me out of the fucking movie. But doesn't matter because the movie's good. The performances are good.
Yep.
It's funny.
It's
all over the place in tone, but it is funny when it tries to be funny. So
I'd say on technical levels, this was a pretty cool movie. You got some really interesting shot choices, shot compositions. You got some interesting like split screens that are used, very almost Tarantino-esque.
Well, very weird. Like there's a scene where they're talking about, like, they're comparing Shaft to Superbad.
Yeah, they're talking about blaxploitation films,
right?
And they slide in pictures of like Pam Grier and stuff like that. And I think that's twofold. One, I think it makes the scene more visually interesting.
Sure. Because they're just walking. Yeah, you're right.
But two, it's also like not everybody who's watching this is actually going to know who these people are.
Well, and when we get to talking about the ending and spoilers, I'm going to have something to say about that, because those of you who have seen this know that there's a there's a ending to this that's Spike Lee pulls no punches as far as why he made this.
Yeah,
let's just put it that way.
Yep. I mean, this is a movie with a message. plain and simple. And sort of to speak to what you said about it sort of takes you out of the movie, but that sort of is the point of the movie, you know?
Right.
I can understand why you don't like that sort of style of things, but that is definitely the point.
Yeah, but you can do that, you know. I feel like Get Out did that better.
I think Get Out was more subtle, but I don't think Get Out was...
It wasn't subtle, but this is like beyond.
No.
You know, there's no subtlety here, in my opinion.
There was a little bit of nuance in certain things. I mean, because we can talk about, you know, without getting into spoilers, it deals with, you know, the Black Power movement and also white supremacists, obviously, because it surrounds the KKK.
Sure.
And there was a little bit of subtlety in sort of representing maybe the Black Power thing wasn't as good as everybody said it was.
So that's what's funny is like I didn't come away with that.
Okay.
That's not what I came away with. There's a character in it as well that's kind of being an ass as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
I don't want to get into that without going into spoilers. But
I would agree with that because it's sort of a bigoted character who doesn't.
Right, it's like
they don't realize that they're bigoted.
It's like the quote unquote reverse racism was kind of what I compare it to, where it's like, you know, I get where she's coming from in a sense, because especially in that time period, it's like, who the fuck knows what she's been through,
right?
You know,
and they give you a taste of it too.
But then again, the way it's presented to her is like, well, you know, how can you? I don't know.
Yeah.
But we don't have to get into that.
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty good movie for most of it. And there are some great scenes,
yes.
I think.
Yes, and I'm a scene guy, as we know.
There's some really great scenes. And then the ending happens, and it becomes, like you said, he pulls no punches, and there is a bit at the end that is incredibly, incredibly powerful.
Well, let's get into spoilers so we can work our way towards that bit. I thought the best stuff in the movie was Adam Driver's infiltration of the KKK. I thought he was the best part of the movie, personally, best performance in the movie. One of my favorite great scenes, quote unquote, in there would be when basically Ron Stallworth corners him and is like, look, man, like, you're a Jew, aren't you? Like, you're Jewish. Like, why aren't you...
Don't act like you don't have skin in the game.
Right, and he's kind of like me, where it's like, yeah, I'm Jewish, but...
I've never really... Well, he's got this bit about, like, I've never really identified with it. I never really thought about it. And now I'm just thinking about it all the time. And that was a great scene.
Yes,
where he's
that
like,
was awesome.
Where he's just like, I can't stop thinking about it now. And it's like, yeah, I think that's how you would feel meeting the KKK and having them... You don't even think of yourself this way. You were just born Jewish. You don't even really think about it because you're just another white kid in a white neighborhood. And then all of a sudden, somebody's pointing out the thing that makes you different. And you're like, oh, what the fuck?
Sure.
You know, I thought it was great. I really liked the main character, like, quite a bit. I found him to be tremendously likable. I like the bits where he's working in sort of the filing area. Yeah. And that one cop's like, oh, by the way, that
calling
one,
him a toad.
Yeah, that was fucking... And then he does, like, the karate to, like, get all the... That was fucking great.
Well, that fits into, you know, the whole blaxploitation thing too. Like, I'm picturing like the little moments in like Shaft or Superbad or all that stuff. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so. And I think I think as a character, because this is a movie about ideologies, and I think as a character, I think he has the best ideology out of anybody in the movie.
Sure. And yeah, he kind of brings Adam Driver's character around to that way of thinking throughout the course of the movie.
Because I think he's the most balanced. Sure. Because there's like that character that you think is an ass.
That's his girlfriend.
That's Patricia, who's the head of the Black Students Union. Yeah. And she is very much, she doesn't like the cops. She basically says fuck you for being a cop.
Right.
And a race war is coming. She believes that, and she wants to fight. Basically, she wants to fight white people. And he's kind of like, well, you know, maybe that's not right. You shouldn't judge me because I'm a cop. You shouldn't hate, you know, all these white people. And I think it did a pretty good job of like all the cops that he works with. Short of like, there's the one really bad cop,
the really bad one, and then there were a few others.
His chief was, I think, pretty bad.
Kind of a prick.
Making him be the bodyguard for David Duke was ridiculous.
That was weird. Yeah, that was very strange.
It felt like he was part of the KKK setting him up. Well, you know what I mean?
I mean, I didn't think that, but I thought, like, are we missing a scene here? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was weird because he wasn't like antagonistic with him at the beginning necessarily very much. You know what I mean?
He was a little bit.
But he was a hard ass like police chief character.
Right. Well, I think the problem with that is like you can take it as maybe he is a little racist, or you can take it as he's just a hard ass, but we don't see him interact with too many other officers.
Yeah, it's weird. The way his character was played overall was a bit strange to me.
Yes. Well, actually, I think he might have been a little bit racist because he calls like Muhammad Ali like a draft dodger and stuff. Like he seemed to, and that black speaker that came to the student union to talk, he said, I don't give a shit what he changed his name to. He seemed to be a little bit more flippant about black culture than maybe I think somebody from now would be.
I suppose. Yeah.
So David Duke is played by Topher Grace.
Awesome performance.
I actually think it was a great performance.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, good to see him in movies. You don't see him a whole lot, I feel. He actually said a while ago he was working on like a cut of like the prequels.
That's his thing. He's into doing that, apparently.
He's into editing.
Yes.
Like,
for fun, he has that much time on his hands.
Right.
Where,
well,
yeah,
he's got
him.
He's got that 70s show money.
I think he did a Hobbit cut.
I think so too.
Which I would actually be very interested in seeing.
I would too. I would be interested how you save those.
Well, you cut about 6.5 hours out of them, first of all.
Right. So yeah, visually it's very interesting. I thought the soundtrack was really great.
There was a lot of repetition in there. I felt like main theme wise.
The main theme played quite a few times, but it was it felt like there was like blaxploitation language being used in the film. As far as like in blaxploitation movies, you have like that theme that plays. You know, the hero goes and does something badass, and they. You know,
right.
So I mean, there was that. I didn't mind it. I actually thought the main theme was quite great, and there were variations on it depending on the scene.
And they kind of like did weird things with it, where it would play out one scene into another.
Yes,
that were kind of interesting and weird, and probably not, you know, what would be recommended you do with a score.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's the thing I like about this is this clearly like is an auteur movie.
Yeah, it's very like, fuck it, I'm throwing everything against the wall here.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why I give it so much credit. Well, it's got great performances, it's got good music, it's got interesting visual language, it's got a great interesting message that promotes discussion, but it's also the fact that it's a guy going out and just making a movie that isn't something that you've seen a million times.
True.
And I like that.
True.
So the ending.
Yeah, let's get into the ending.
Yeah.
So it ends with basically, there's a lot of nods over the course of the movie to Trump and, you know, like current affairs or current beliefs towards the president that certain people have.
Well, and they do, before we get into the ending, they do make a good point of like these KKK members, David Duke in particular, that are interested in getting into office because, I mean, I think logically it makes sense. If you have an ideology and you want to push it, you try and get into office.
David Duke did get into office.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's funny about David Duke, like just how big of a piece of shit this guy is.
Right.
I believe it was like the late 80s. He ran as a Democrat, you know, and lost. And then he ran as a Republican. So basically he's just going to do whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's just a fucking scumbag.
But he's a fucking
he
monster.
won in some small county in Louisiana. I believe he was like a House representative for a couple of years and then he was gone. But the end of the movie ends with, it's been a year since Charlottesville. I think it was like yesterday or something was exactly a year since, you know, and they throw that shit on the screen.
Yeah.
At the end, they should throw a montage with some words about, you know, Charlottesville. And basically the idea being that this shit is still happening.
Yes.
Now it sounds like it more affected you than it did me.
Yeah. I mean, I'll admit it. I don't cry during most movies, but this really got me. I think a lot of it is just the fact that it's like you sit here and you watch this pretty enjoyable movie, and then all of a sudden you're brought into reality, and you realize that like for whatever reason you can blame Trump or you can just blame where we're at in society. These people who are racists, white supremacists, they're feeling more bold. And that is a really scary thing. When you first see the dudes with the tiki torches walking And I didn't watch all these clips. I sort of read it when it came out.
See, I had seen this
to
the end of time.
I'd seen a lot of the clips, but I hadn't heard the bit where like we won't be replaced by Jews.
Oh yeah,
And to hear that is so fucking disturbing to my core that this happened a year ago.
Yeah, but did you think that these people didn't exist? I mean, did you think they were gone?
Well,
that's an honest question.
No, and here's the thing. We actually had a conversation, texting wise,
off podcast,
off the pod. And you said, it's not something that people don't already know, and it's like, I get that, but we always go to movies to learn, or not learn, but see messages we already know all the time. How many movies are made about, like, how many movies are made about like value your family over your job? I mean, it's just. It's an important message for us to not forget, because when we start forgetting is when these people start making a resurgence.
See, now I thought of this as like, I kind of took this from the Nightmare on Elm Street thought process of Nancy at the end. The only way you kill the monster is to just turn your back on it and say, I'm just going to ignore you, fuck off. And as far as like the boldness, I mean, that's a whole other debate. I think a lot of it also has to do with just like there was this thing going on where, the Robert E. Lee statue was being taken down.
Yeah.
And nowadays, if you want to get a group of people together that are pissed off about something, go on the fucking internet.
Yeah.
I would also point out, I believe this weekend, there were like thousands of counter protesters. So just a little bit of hope out there for the folks.
Right.
To like tens of the white supremacist folks that showed up this past weekend.
And that's the way it should be. And I'm not advocating violence. And I actually almost think that the movie isn't advocating violence. I think it's saying, I mean, it's funny because you say that it's not subtle, and it isn't.
It's not. Yeah.
It's not subtle, but also I think that some of the message can be interpreted a couple of different ways because they juxtapose the black power versus the white power, and I think that they make. I mean, clearly the white power people in this movie are worse. Clearly,
they're fucking awful.
They're monsters.
They're worse. Period.
Yeah. Period. End of discussion. They're worse. But I think the idea is that like that keep on forgetting his name, but the guy who comes and speaks at the college,
David Duke, or
no. The black guy for the black student union.
Yep. So that's another weird thing. Just to back up a little bit,
right.
There's two scenes in this that are like long speeches.
Yes.
That are very. It's like it's not normal. And it was weird because I was sitting there like, I'm kind of intrigued by this.
Right.
It's also, you're just like breaking the rules of a movie, and I kind of respect the fact that you don't give a shit, and you're just going to, fuck it, let these people give their monologues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very weird. But anyways, go back.
Well, I mean, I liked it because like you said it was kind of weird because they kept on cutting back to the audience in that scene.
Was weird. I did not like that.
And I kind of liked it because, like I said, visually it's interesting. It's not something you see done like ever. And so I like
it. Just seems so weird tonally.
It's interesting because it's kind of like this idea. I think it was supposed to be showing the power of his rhetorical influence, which is why the cops were scared of him.
Okay.
Because, I mean, clearly the people who are watching it, they seem to be being affected.
I just feel like you could have given that message in a way where it didn't feel like a cartoon for a minute. Like that's kind of how I mean, it's just, it's personal difference of opinion.
Yeah, personal preference. But I will say when he's talking about like there being a race war coming, I don't think the movie necessarily, I think it, through the main character, it sort of allows you to see that like he's a little disturbed that his people are thinking that there's a race war coming, and he's like, oh, you have a gun now, and stuff like that. There are things where
he knows it's going to get fucked up and ugly.
Well, and it's sort of the movie doesn't necessarily give you a good answer as to what the solution for this is, because it's like clearly escalating it through violence is not a good idea, but how do you combat violent racism?
Well, now here's where we're getting into a whole other thing, is like in this movie, they're clearly violent, right?
Right.
Now, and there was the guy in Charlottesville who ran the people over.
Right. I mean, clearly
violence. He's violent. Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough in America. And I'm not saying it's hopeless. And I feel like that was kind of my issue with the ending. I think I told you this was like, it's like a very hopeless ending. Like and I get like, okay, you're trying to set something into your audience's minds, and they're not supposed to feel good leaving the movie.
Right.
I don't know though, man. Like the theater was silent. Like it was an interesting way to end the movie.
I just think it was one of the most...
To me, okay, so I think about this. Like, to me, this is the kind of stuff where it's like, yes, obviously those people are fucking trash. Let's not pretend that they're, the majority of people out there, first of all. And secondly, I feel like some people may see this and not understand that. And that's where you get like the 16-year-old kid who's eating at a fucking restaurant with a Make America Great Again hat that gets attacked, gets his hat stolen, and gets a fucking soda thrown in his face. Where it's like, he didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? So... That's my concern as far as the ending is concerned. Here's where I swing the other way to it, is kind of what you just said, where you hadn't seen this stuff. So I'm coming at this.
Well, I don't.
You knew the story, but you hadn't heard that chant. I've heard that probably.
I read it, but I didn't. It's different to hear it out loud.
I mean, I'm not, I'm just saying, I'm just saying there are people that don't pay attention to current events who perhaps didn't see any of this. Mm-hmm. And if this is something where, they watched it and they saw that this happened and it's, then there you go. Because I was coming at it from like, okay, I've seen this before. I kind of got what you were doing the whole time anyways. And then like the upside down American flag, like the America's in distress thing. I think sometimes we give them too much power where it's like, they're fucking idiots.
It's a tough thing. I don't think we have a good answer. And I don't think the movie is trying to advocate for a race war.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I didn't know about Charlottesville because I obviously did.
But it was very powerful for you to see it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And the way it was cut together was I feel
pretty good. With the juxtaposed with the Trump speeches and stuff. I mean, it was very well done. He certainly achieved his goal. I would say
it's one of the better montages I've seen in a while, and the use of like the music in it was I thought it was very powerful.
So a thing it reminded me of that I think it was done way better in this movie, as far as juxtaposing like the film with something real, is at the end of Schindler's List.
Oh, right.
When all the families of the Jews that were saved by Schindler walk with the actors who portrayed them and put stones on his grave.
Holy shit.
And then there's there's a direct connection.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
God, I haven't seen Schindler's List in forever.
Oh God, it's so good. But the other thing to remember here too is like, we're going to have this for a while longer. Each generation I think gets progressively less prejudice than the one before it. And you're living in a country where like, if you did this in Europe, you're arrested. Whereas when these assholes go do this in the United States, they get police protection because they can say whatever the fuck they want.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
and it's a really tough issue because you're like, I don't think anybody likes hate speech.
Correct.
Well,
some people do.
Yeah. But I mean, it's really tough because it's like, what do you do about that when you have freedom of speech? And that was the thing too, is that seeing that woman who died at the end. Awful. And it's just, that's what I think really hammered it home, is like, it's not just that the racism is still alive and they're still very bold about it. It's the fact that somebody literally died.
Yeah.
In broad daylight. And it's fucking sickening.
It's over something so juvenile and stupid. Like, you know what I'm saying? The fact, like, what they're doing, it's such a backwards, dumb, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of like the fact that like they sort of in the movie they set up like these redneck hillbilly idiot racists.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden David Duke comes in and he becomes the much more nefarious type of racist.
He's also a dummy, which I liked. He is. And then I felt like, so that was where the tone got me at the end, because cutting into the scene, the montage is like this jokey at the bar kind of scene, and then you have a quick like cut to, okay, racism is still around with them like, burning the cross at the end. And then they go into that and it was just like,
well, I feel like if I'm talking about the emotional journey, so you're laughing when he calls David Duke and he's like, you've been talking to a black man, you dumb son of a racist son of a bitch.
Or the Polaroid bit, that was really good too.
Yeah, that was good. But then it goes into a still kind of humorous scene, but it becomes a little less so once they hear the knock at the door.
Yeah, that was where it kind of cut off being humorous.
But it wasn't as humorous as the previous scene. So I think he was lessening the level of humor
and just laying it on you.
Well, and then there was that scene where like they're on like a conveyor belt almost in the hallway with their guns pointed out. That was very blaxploitation. And then going out and seeing outside the window the cross burning, and then you cut into, you're right there with the cross burning. It's just, it was you could have ended it with the cross burning, and I think it still would have been a powerful ending. But that really, like you said, it makes no qualms about what its point is.
It's true. It totally did not. I wish there was a way, and he's trying to see, this is where it's tough, because I get what he's doing, and anything I would suggest would probably lessen the effect. But it made me feel like, it kind of has a message of like America is this racist place where, with the flag.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't sit well with that, because I know plenty of people. I'm not in an area, I will admit, where it's prevalent like it probably is in the South or wherever.
Right.
But it's like, God, why have some hope, people? Hope. This weekend should have brought some hope with the whole fucking 25 idiots show up and there's thousands that are there to call them morons.
Yeah. I mean, I totally get it. I totally get your point. It's one of those things. Racism is just,
it's very childish.
It's childish. It's just something that I find when it gets this deadly to be just so disturbing. That's just for me personally. Like I had a really, really hard time watching 12 Years a Slave.
Oh, it's awful.
It's just one of the beautiful.
Talk about a powerful fucking movie.
Yeah,
too.
one of the best
shit.
movies I've seen in the last like 5 years, 10 years or so. Still was so hard to get
that
through.
One, if you can get through the end when he gets home
without
crying, you have a serious fucking screw loose.
I bawled like a kid throughout the whole movie. Like when
Michael Fassbender son of a bitch in that.
When he's whipping Lupita Nyong'o, I fucking can't. It's just so fucking disgusting. Really good movie. Really good.
Yeah.
One of the better movies of the year as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It has too many tone. It's too fucking all over the place for me to put it that high. But I did think it was really good. I would suggest seeing it. I'd give it like a B.
I think the ending is what elevates it, because otherwise I don't think I probably would have ranked it as high as I do.
Right.
I'd say it's probably in the top 10 for the year. It's not my favorite movie of the year, but...
It was funny. I was listening to Seen It podcast today, just to give them a shout out, and they made me laugh out loud at my desk. The one guy was talking about, he's like, they all thought it was great, and then they get to the one guy who was kind of lukewarm on it, and the one guy looks, or I'm assuming he looked at him or whatever, and was like, yeah, why do you hate black people? And the guy goes, jokingly, the guy answers, well, how much time do I have? And they all just burst into laughter. But like, you can't help but have that.
You got to cut the tension somehow, because sadly that is going to be the question if you didn't love it.
And by the way, this gentleman it was jokes, people. They were jokes.
Yep.
Don't James Gunn us now, or James Gunn them.
Right.
Check out their podcast, Seen It Movie Reviews.
Yeah. So let's get to
the real controversial film of the decade.
Right.
This one really is divisive.
How'd you like the Meg? How do you like Jason Statham?
I enjoyed this movie.
Okay.
I was expecting a pile of shit because now we've been burned. And I've been burned by The Rock twice this year.
Right.
And I kind of compare, they're kind of the same kind of action man.
Absolutely.
I was burned by Pacific Rim 2, which is like a monster movie.
Right.
I went into this one expecting just a complete pile of shit. And what I got was like a sweetened pile of shit that was palatable to me. I enjoyed myself. I was having fun watching this movie.
Okay. That's nice. I hated this movie.
Okay.
So a little bit of history on me. First time I walked out of a movie was when I was in high school.
Okay.
Kate and Leopold.
Sure. Hugh Jackman, he's so charming. How could you walk out of that?
Yeah, that movie sucked.
Okay.
But I was on a quasi-blind date.
Well, and your high, maybe you'd appreciate it more now.
I sincerely doubt it.
Okay.
But yeah, this is my first time walking out of a movie since. I did a double feature. I watched BlackKklansman, and then I was like, wow, that was really heavy. You know what? I might be in the right mindset for this Meg movie. You know, it'll be nice to have a light palate cleanser to sort of, you know, make me feel all right with the world again.
See, that's funny because I wouldn't think that way. Like I would have trouble watching the Meg with the rose-colored glasses I did if I had just walked out of like, you know, this like political fucking meaningful movie.
That's just like the kind of person that I am. Like okay, for instance,
you want a happy dose after your
because after I watched Room with Brie Larson,
sure,
kind of unnerving. I watched an episode of The Office to sort of decompress after it because it's not nice to go to bed with that feeling.
Right,
you know. So here I'm walking in and I'm like, all right, let's do this. Hopefully it doesn't suck. It's got like a 48%. Maybe it's a coin flip. We'll see what it is.
Yep.
First scene, boring as fuck.
I like the first scene.
I thought it was shot plainly, boringly. The CGI was shit. As like the Meg is crushing parts of the ship that they're in.
Pretty good.
Yeah, boring. And then his whole like they close in on his face all like, what have you done? As he's like, oh, I had to leave my friends behind.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty traumatic.
Yeah. Well, I like how that narrative thread of like this guy thinking that he's a douchebag is dispatched within a half an hour of the movie. Oh, sorry, I thought you were nuts. Oh, glad that tension's gone from the movie. Oh, fuck
well,
this movie.
We knew the Meg was real.
Yeah.
It's not like there was tension to like find out.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like, one, it was a boring conflict to even have in the movie. And two, if you're going to have a conflict in the movie, maybe don't resolve it a half an hour in, which is one of your only conflicts in the movie. Because your only other conflict is stopping a big shark. And guess what? It's just not interesting. It's interesting in Jaws.
I thought
which
it was
this
fine.
is not.
Well, in Jaws, there's way more going on.
Yeah, because there's characters.
Fine.
Because there's characters in Jaws.
I liked Jason Statham in this.
Jason Statham
he was
is
far more charming than I am admittedly, I told someone I was going to see this, and he texted back to me, I thought you hated Jason Statham.
Right.
And I do. I'm not a Transporter fan, Crank. He was okay in like Snatch. There was that bank job movie he was in that he was pretty good in. But overall, not a big Jason Statham fan.
Not at all.
Now, in this one, I thought he was kind of charming. I thought he had a little bit more going on to him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just need to watch more Jason Statham.
I think he did things that he does in every movie.
Okay.
He was Jason Statham. And
like the way he interacted with the little Chinese girl and stuff, I thought was pretty good. Now,
yeah, you want to know screenwriting 101, how to make your character likable, make him interact with a child and have it go well.
But it was like, it was charming to me.
Okay, that little girl is one of the worst actresses I've ever seen.
You cut me off before I got there. I was going to say, granted, this movie, how do I say this without being offensive? It does not do the Asian actors very well.
Yeah, this is what we called, you guys ever seen The Chinese Connection? It's a classic Bruce Lee film. At least I believe that's what it is.
What?
This is the forced Chinese connection.
Well, yeah, this is your Transformers 4.
Yeah.
Let's make this take place near China and have
with a
Chinese,
bunch of Chinese
characters so that it makes a ton of money overseas.
Yep.
I don't know. That was the first thing I thought when it started. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, China.
Because they got Chinese actors, and I don't have a problem with China or Chinese actors.
No.
But they are the worst acting I've seen all year.
They're not good.
The mom was terrible.
Well, it's tough though because I think the kid was worse than the mom, but that's a kid.
Yep.
Now the mom, it gets tough when you if you're taking someone who's like Chinese who hasn't spent a lot of time in the U.S. or whatever. It's like you might run into a Chinese person who doesn't speak very good English, who sounds like they're acting when you talk to them, or any language, obviously, But yeah, I don't know. Like, people are talking about the forced romance and shit. Like, I thought it was fine. It didn't bother me at all.
Oh, I didn't think it was forced. I thought it was bland and there was no chemistry.
I don't know.
I don't think they had any chemistry. I walked out. So for people who want to know when I walked out.
Yeah, when did you walk out?
There's
curious.
a scene where the girl says...
And by the way, this is all spoilers.
Yeah. If you're worried about spoilers for the fucking Meg, get over it.
Yeah.
I walked out when she says, by the way, my mommy likes you too.
I liked that scene.
Hated it.
I thought it was cute.
I like how they're like, oh, you're going to save your ex-wife. Oh, does he have any sort of tension with his ex-wife? No, they get along fine.
Well, there was some tension, but once the apology comes with the wife saying like, hey, I'm sorry, you weren't crazy. And she's kind of trying to set her up with the Asian, I thought it was pretty good.
I didn't see those scenes because I walked out.
I think that you must have walked out like during this, because you're talking about the hospital part.
I walked out when Rain was going off and he was going to drop a bunch of bombs to try and kill this thing. By the way, Rainn Wilson is so fucking wasted in this movie.
He's the same character as he was when he played the professor in Transformers 2.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, but he kind of knows what movie he's in this.
He does.
You know what I'm saying?
He does. He's fully aware. This movie has bland, boring characters. Everybody fits into the... Oh, hey, you ever seen a tech guy? Well, guess what? He's going to be overweight with glasses and a beard and long hair. Oh, guess what? We also got an Asian tech guy, just in case you were worried that we were only covering one of those bases. It's just... This is like fucking Captain Planet, like with all like, hey, we've got one person from every ethnicity, so we're covering all of our bases, but don't worry, the hero's still white.
I'm not going to argue. Oh, Jesus Christ. Who cares?
I'm not saying I care. I'm just saying it fits into all of the archetypes.
So if The Rock, now this is where it's like, why does the white main character matter? It could be The Rock.
No, what I'm saying is all it is it just ticks all the boxes. You got everybody in the role that they're supposed to be in, because this is the tried and true formula of action movie. Everybody has their overweight.
Yeah, and it does it pretty well.
Nope.
It's decently acted enough. It's got like enough
money, boobies. We like all those things. What the fuck was that?
I liked Jason Statham. I thought he was a star in this.
Was he?
He felt like a star to me.
Was he?
Yes.
No.
He felt like a good action star. Now, like the side characters, they're okay. Ruby Rose, fine. But this was his vehicle. I thought he was pretty interesting in it. I thought his character actually had like a small amount of depth, enough for me to be like, oh, okay, I get it. I get this character. And then whereas I got the feeling that you weren't entertained by like the shark action.
All the shark action was boring.
I thought it was fine. I was pleasantly entertained by the shark stuff. I especially like, there's a bit in there, I don't know if you got to it, but there's a bit in there where they kill the shark, or they think they killed the shark, and they have like a giant mega shark on their boat. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, we got it.
Yeah.
And then the real Megalodon shows up and eats the shark, and the boat starts to sink.
Nobody said there were two.
Yeah.
Why are there two?
Yep, kind of. Yeah,
Fuck that
sure. But
scene.
but I thought it was pretty good. Did you see that scene or no?
I think I did.
Even if you didn't, I mean,
I started texting you halfway through the movie, telling you how awful the experience was.
So. And we're going to have to discuss you texting in the theater.
I was in
very
the back.
Bad. Okay.
I wouldn't have done it otherwise.
All right. So the other part that I liked was at the end, they start throwing in the homages to Jaws. And you definitely didn't see this stuff,
Nope.
but you've got the kid like begging his mom to go into the water. And then there's these like, you ever been to a beach and they've got these like rafts that are chained down to the, like they're anchored and you're on like a raft or whatever. So the Meg swims by a couple of those
and it grabs them,
and they float behind him like the barrels kind of.
Yep.
Thought it was it tickled my fancy. Admittedly, it's a cheap shot for a whatever. But
so this movie cost $150 million to make.
I heard 130.
Okay, well,
but either way, that's a lot.
Either
of money.
way,
it's not as much as Justice League.
No. Totally unwarranted, considering the cast doesn't command much money, and I didn't think the special effects were all that good.
I thought they were pretty good. I mean, they're not like the best I've seen, but it was convincing enough. The shark looked cool enough to me.
I was
like
thinking
some of
about
the
it.
action at the end when, you know, you're just going to roll your eyes at this because it's so fucking stupid.
Right.
But like when Jason Statham like is like fighting with the shark.
Does he
like,
punch it in the face?
He kicks off of its nose at one point. I know that. And then I think he takes like some sort of a harpoon or something, and he stabs it in its eye. And
this is an asylum movie.
And then
this is an asylum movie released in theaters.
Well, but
this
but
is
it's got a big
Sharknado
enough
3.
budget where it's not like nearly as laughable. And then there's a
it's
scene,
got higher
there's a
production value.
Did you ever see Beowulf?
Yeah.
So there was a scene that reminded me of Beowulf. There's like the beginning of Beowulf. There's this scene where he's telling a story about when he fought these giant monsters. You know, he's always and one of them he like takes a knife and he slits through it and like flies down the monster or whatever.
Right.
So in this one, he takes his little underwater craft, Jason Statham does, and he charges at the shark and he rips its belly open. Very neat. Kind of reminded me of that.
Okay.
So these scenes are fun, in my opinion.
So I'm thinking about it from a production standpoint. I'm looking at the the set. The set is sort of bland, high tech area.
Sure.
Which, by the way, it makes zero sense why they would have an old ass elevator.
Just so you could have that dumb line.
Yes, just so you could have that dumb line. There was clearly a scene that was cut in between when they get in the elevator and when they're all like, oh, he thinks your hat is cool, or she thinks your hat is nice. Because he walks in and he goes like, granddaughter's a real Spitfire. You got that from one sentence? I'm sorry, I don't buy it.
Yeah, he picks up on it, Alex.
God, and they start like with this epic music of like him flying in the helicopter. And like shows him landing on this thing, and first he leaves Shanghai so you can have the glory shots of Shanghai, which is, you know, whatever. It's a beautiful looking city. Still a little unnecessary, but anyways, flies, lands, and then the door opens and it's sort of a wide shot so you see him. But then they have the reveal shot of him getting out after you've already seen him. Like, they're like, oh, look, it's not a badass in the helicopter. It's not Jason Statham. It's some other weird, kooky guy. And I'm like, I already got that from the wide shot. You didn't need to cut in close. Your whole reveal shot is ruined. It's just, that's amateur shit. That's amateur shit. And then there's like continuity errors that just bother the shit out of me that are just like so amateur and so obvious. So Ruby Rose at one point is in the back of the elevator while Jason Statham is in the front. And then they literally do a cut to the front of the elevator and it doesn't appear that it was a time skip. And all of a sudden she's the first one walking out of the elevator, even though she was behind him.
Well, that's not that rare.
It's not super rare.
Not
but
in a
it was,
movie like this, certainly.
No, but it was just, it's this laissez-faire, hey, we're just making a dumb shark movie.
They're making a product, 100%.
Yep. Well,
this is going to get a sequel, by the way.
Yeah, fuck that.
It made, what did it make? Like 140 globally this weekend?
Something like that. It made 40. It was the winner of the weekend, and thank you all for going and seeing a shit movie.
It made almost double what they projected it to make domestically.
You do understand that there are literally thousands of good screenwriters with good original scripts, and you guys went and saw Jason Statham punches a shark in the face.
They gotta, hey, you went and you saw it.
I only did it for this. I would not have seen this movie.
This is one, too, where I would have skipped it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I didn't. This is one of those ones. I'm telling you, man, these movies have driven me fucking nuts lately. There was something about this one. And I know there's going to be somebody who's like, well, wait a minute. You fucking hated Rampage.
Yeah.
You hated Pacific Rim 2. That's the one I hate the most. Because that one to me, like, you're calling this bland. That movie to me was like, I was fucking tired watching that pile of shit.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They're both bad movies, and I'd say they're both in the same ballpark of bad.
Right. Well, to your point, though, we've discussed this off air a little bit. Pacific Rim 2 has higher ambitions and more thought went into it.
Right.
I would agree with that.
Because we discussed it, and you had said, well, Pacific Rim 2 is clearly worse. And I'm like, but there's creativity in the monster design and the mech designs. People tried on that. This is literally, oh, you see a shark? Let's make it bigger. Oh, like there's the whole like there's a little layer of fucking really cold air, and then you just go underneath that, and that's
you
where
gotta come up with a reason why there's a giant shark.
But that's one, that's dumb, and
That's fine.
two, they go underneath, and it's like they went like 20 feet underneath.
It's fine.
Like, I
Who
don't understand. I
cares?
don't understand how the Meg is even fitting under that.
That's one thing. At the end of the movie, the Meg comes pretty close to shore, and I'm thinking to myself, like, wait a minute, he's fucking giant. How does he get this close?
Right.
Or like Jason Statham, like there's times when his swimming speed must just be,
Yep.
Michael Phelps times 10.
Yeah, because there was a bit where he's swimming away from it, and somehow it doesn't catch him.
Well, dude, he's Statham, man.
Yeah, he's just there's that bit
Maybe
where
he got some of that crank shit that he used in that movie.
Right. And there was that bit where okay, so the daughter goes down and tries to save the lost thing, and they're like, 45 minutes ago she went down, and then Statham goes down and he catches up with her in 5 minutes because he just goes at a speed that nobody would ever go at, and the pressure is making him bleed out of his nose, but don't worry, he's Statham, he can do it. He's clearly going 10 times faster than she was, but because he's Statham, he can survive. Fuck this movie. Oh, and then there's that bit where the Meg comes up and it chomps on part of the thing, and the daughter is all like, ah. And then the Asian lady goes, my daughter, wouldn't you say your daughter's name? And then run out. And also, if you knew like there wasn't sounds of water rushing in or anything, chances are she's fine.
You'd still freak out.
Yeah, but I don't know of any parent who, my daughter.
Well,
it's weird.
I mean, he's talking to people. She's got in the room with other people, right? Or is she not?
She's in the room with other people. She could have just said her daughter's name. It doesn't matter. That's what a parent's
you might
reaction
just like
would
look
be.
at someone and be like, my kid's down there. Or I could see that.
Yeah.
But I mean, my daughter. I mean, it's like,
It was a weird line, but
the way
two,
it's
the
delivered.
it was,
yeah.
And then the Asian, her father, the doctor who runs the bit, he dies, and the music's like,
Yeah, because the character died.
oh
Alex.
no!
It doesn't mean that they expect you to fucking cry.
I feel it
I
so
don't even
much
think
for this
they're going for that.
Why'd the
honestly.
music do it then?
Because it's a character dying. It's what you do.
Because it's stock.
Right, it's stock, yes.
Everything in this movie is stock in the worst, most bland way possible.
I thought it was stock in a way that was palatable to me. I mean, I've been kind of playing this up for laughs here because you hate it, but let's just say didn't hate this.
Right.
I thought it was okay. If somebody asked me if they should see it, I would tell them there's better stuff to see, clearly.
Yeah.
But like, I'm sorry, but if you want to see like action and badass shit, go see Mission Impossible.
Yep,
clearly.
absolutely.
But like if you're into this, I will tell you right now, I know 2 people personally have seen this.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them liked it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I fucking hated Rampage. I'm going to say it again. I hated a lot of these movies. But yeah, no, this, like, I have my misgivings, for instance. I'm just thinking monster movies now. I'm thinking like, like Godzilla, the last Godzilla. We've talked about that. I find it kind of boring. It's way better than this.
It's
clearly.
it's in a different league.
This one feels like Cloud9 from outer space, or like something that would have come from like that era, some old era where it's like,
it's just not interesting for me, you
Sure.
know, like a big thing. Like, that back in the 50s, they did like Giant Ants, the movie. And it's
Right.
like, it's like, that's
think-
not an interesting. So I don't have an interesting premise. I don't have a character who has a good arc. I have bland cardboard cutout characters, and I've got bland action scenes that are predictable beat by beat. Like there are so many times where the shark is like right on their tail and they narrowly escape, and you're like, I fucking established
That's what you
that.
do. Did you get to the scene where she was in like the bubble thing and the shark grabbed it and tried to, it was like
eat it?
glass that wouldn't
Yeah.
break? That was pretty good, I thought.
That was boring and bland.
God, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and like vehemently defend the movie.
Right,
Because
I would hope
clearly
you-
I know what it is.
Right.
But, if you're into that sort of thing, I'm not really into it very much anymore. I used to like this kind of shit better.
Right.
But if you're into that sort of thing, you're going to like it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
I would just, so to wind things down.
Yes, we should stop.
We should stop,
We've
but-
given this giant shark way more time than it actually
We
deserves.
actually, we put more thought into this discussion than the screenwriters did. End of discussion. No, you said that in our private conversation, you said that, this is not a film. This is, whatever. I think there's a distinction that you can make like that.
Yeah, I was saying, like,
Jaws is a film.
Half sarcastically, like, yeah, Jaws, like, stop comparing this. Jaws is like a real film. This is clearly just fucking some dumb popcorn movie.
Right. And my thing is always going to be, it's a story, and there are certain things that you need in a story to make a story work. This didn't have those.
For you.
For me.
Right.
And I would say ultimately, I don't like it's not a film. Those things are considered films because they ended up being really good and masterfully done.
No, I disagree with that.
Well, because the people actually put effort in.
I would say, like, Gotti, I haven't seen it, but that's probably like a film. Like, they were trying to make like a real dramatic film. It's a pile of shit.
Right.
There's shit that's like, this is basically a 2-hour-long music video.
Right.
Like, it's got that much fucking substance in it.
Right. But I would say, like, for me, it's like, you can always try to make a good movie.
It's true. You probably could make a good giant shark movie. Like a real movie. Like, for me, it's like a figure of speech.
Yeah. But for me, it's just like, they just clearly, and that's the thing that pisses me off, is there are people in Hollywood who just skate by on not trying, and this is good enough, and the people will eat it up, and people do. And that's really sad to me that other artists are out there trying and doing original, interesting things, and some will probably never see 90% of the great scripts that are out there because we have to see shit like this.
Well, to be fair, I mean, we're never going to get that fucking Denzel versus Liam Neeson movie.
Yeah, that's a classic in the making. Seriously.
But no, I want to give credit that, you say there's people that work. I'm sure there's people that worked plenty hard on this fucking movie.
Oh yeah, I'm sure, like, all of, like,
the visual artists and shit,
and the crew. Yeah, like the sound guy. I'm sure they all worked their ass off. It's the people behind the scenes. It's the director. It's the writers. It's the producers.
I believe Ruby Rose almost drowned, if I read that correctly.
Well, Ruby,
if she would have
count your lucky stars, because Jesus Christ, you could have picked a better movie to die on.
Not quite Brandon Lee in The Crow.
Yeah, not even. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd give this like a B-, C+.
Whoa. Yeah. Whoa, that's better than...
It's better than Christopher Robin. I had a better time at this than I did Christopher Robin.
I cannot understand that, but that's okay.
Christopher Robin's like a better film. There's more going on, but as far as, like, I sat in the theater and I had a good time, this was better. Christopher Robin didn't, like, make me sad enough to like it in that sad way. And it didn't make me, like, laugh and be happy enough to like it in that way. So I was just kind of left like, eh. This, I was just like, holy shit, I'm along for this stupid ride. Like, might as well have been chucking Skittles up in the air and, whatever. But
2 out of 10 would not bang.
Ooh, 2 out of 10.
This is so
this
is so stock that it is fucking offensive.
Jesus. But yeah, that's it for the week. I'm kind of excited for next week's movie. I think it could be like a dark horse fun movie, Mile 22 with Marky Mark.
Oh boy.
And the dude from The Raid.
The Raid. See, he's the reason that I'm excited, because I'm not a big Marky Mark fan.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't see the oil
the oil one,
yeah,
no.
Or the Boston Bomber one,
no.
Right? So both of those, I believe, were made by the same guy.
Okay.
And they're both solid. So
okay.
I'm excited for this one. And I don't know if this is based on a true story like the other two are, but it looks pretty good.
What's the other? I feel like there was another one.
There's another one, which is perfect that this is the movie. Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh.
98% on Rotten Tomatoes already.
Really?
Yeah, like some Asian... romantic comedy or something. It's supposed to be like a really good movie.
So is this like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, but for Asians?
I will have to find out. I mean,
because that was ridiculously highly rated as well.
But yeah, so there you go. That's the two I know. If there's another one, let me know. I'll go see a third. Oh, if MoviePass will allow me to see 3 movies. Listen. You can cut this wherever you want into the episode, but I feel like this is pretty good. They sent me a fucking email yesterday promoting Mission Impossible.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, just out of curiosity, let's pull up the MoviePass app. Mission Impossible wasn't available through their app to see at any theater.
Wow.
Just if anybody
That's
has the time.
amateur hour.
Oh, dude, it was this weekend was a joke. So I went and saw The Meg on Friday, paid for it. The next day, that's the only movie I can use MoviePass for, was The Meg.
Wow.
Just a fucking joke. And if anybody wants to have a good time, go to their Twitter and just read some of the responses to their most recent tone-deaf tweets that they're sending out. They're fucked.
Oh, Jackson, I also realized that you excluded Alpha, which is also opening next week.
Is that one that like we saw the trailer for? The
Yeah.
wolf and the boy?
Yep, the National Geographic movie.
All right.
Fuck it. Have a great one, guys.